Welcome back. Today's about transitions. Isn't it really difficult to watch your kids go through transitions and they're lacking confidence, they're not motivated, they're stagnant, they're just not getting out of the sport what they can, and they're not performing their best, they're not doing their job? I've got 3 things that I want to talk to you about today to help your athletes transition, and for yourself. As a mom in my 50s now, 4 grown children, that was hardest for me, is to do what I needed to do to get through my transition. So I'm going to share a little bit of that. What I wanted for my daughter, my Division I daughter, was I wanted her to be healthy coming out of the sport. I wanted her to be fulfilled. And I wanted her to take the resources that she learned in the sport beyond the sport, right? Isn't that what is so important? Okay, so I remember when she was a senior in college, she did Division I gymnastics at Ball State for 3 years and Utah State for 2. And her senior year, I watched her at a meet, and it was her senior year. It was in February. You know, their season ends like the end of March, beginning of April. And I was like, oh my gosh, she just looked distracted, disconnected. She was a leader of the team and had a great, she created a lot of culture and did a great job, was very successful, competed 3 events. I think every meet, her entire career, maybe a couple, 2 events and a couple of meets, but so very successful. But I recognized that she wasn't connected. And I was driving to the airport after the meet, and I called her, and I'm like, oh my God, Libby. I go, you need a goal beyond gymnastics. She had been doing gymnastics like 18 out of the 22 years she was alive. So I said, the first thing that an athlete needs is a goal beyond the chapter they're in. Okay, for her, I said, what do you want to do after you're done doing gymnastics? And she was like, I have no idea. Fair enough. But don't answer it. When they say that, don't answer it. Just say, okay, when you're done doing gymnastics, what do you think you're going to do? And she goes, I want to get a job. I'm like, that's a good thing. Like, we all want her to get a job, right? She had never had a job. And I said, okay, do you see how you can use the resources from gymnastics to help you with a job? And she was like, oh, yeah. So what does that do? It keeps her connected. It keeps her intentional. Now she can use gymnastics as something beyond gymnastics. It keeps her mentally able to manage herself through gymnastics, and it creates a window of opportunity to use it beyond the sport. Okay, so that's super valuable for them mentally to be able to stay connected through one chapter to the next. The second thing that I did was I said, what legacy do you want to leave behind? When she was a senior in high school, she came to me and she goes, Mom, all the people that leave the sport, all the seniors, they're crabby by the time they're done. They're mentally drained and stressed. They don't talk good about the coaches, and they're just ready to get the hell out of here. And she goes, and I don't want to be like that. I don't want to act like that. And so in college, I said, what legacy do you want to leave behind? What do you want them to remember you by? And that gives the ability to leave with some intention. It forces the athlete to be aware of how they're behaving, what they're doing, what do they want these teammates to remember them by. And it's such a powerful connection mentally for the athlete to think about that and to think about how they want the other people to learn from them and to grow from them and to leave that legacy. Okay, the third thing is A circle. I think it's super important to know what drives them, what's making decisions for them. What's in our A circle is what's making decisions for us or what's controlling us at that moment. And it's usually an unconscious process. But for her, she had her coaches in her A circle. She had her JO coaches in her A circle. I was never in her A circle. I know she still has Sammy in her A circle because that's just how she was. She grew up with Sammy in her A circle, and she's not a bad person to have in her A circle. In fact, I have Sammy in my A circle because she's kind of scary as a mom. She was really scary. But it was great for my daughter because she had so much regard and so much respect for her. Okay, but you don't want to kick it out And you don't want them to have to kick out the things that have been serving them in their A circle with the sport. Even if she's not being coached anymore, she can still have people that support her, things that she needs in her A circle, she can have that in her A circle moving forward. And I learned that the hard way, because as I'm now in my 50s with 4 grown children, I thought that I've had my kids in my A circle my entire life, and it served me really, really well. I was motivated. I built my entire business on mental strength coaching around my daughter's, my youngest, her sport. And I worked with hundreds of gymnasts, thousands of gymnasts. I've seen 30 athletes a week for the last 15 years straight. And it's been a great business, and I could travel. But what happened was when Olivia graduated, I tried to kick him out. I thought, oh, I need to be in my own A circle. I need to make my own decisions. Well, let me tell you, it's been the worst 2 years because I don't know how to be in my own A circle. I don't know how to make my own decisions. I needed, and I now put my kids in my A circle to leave a legacy for them. I am motivated by them. And now my grandson, I have 1 grandson. So it's like, I had to do the same thing for myself. I have to have a goal, beyond where I'm at. I have to stay focused and use what was in my A circle to help me moving forward. And I have to use all the resources that I've learned throughout my business, throughout my career, the 5 shifts that I've created with So Connected, and I have to use them moving forward. And now I'm in Florida. I'm kind of homeless. I don't have a place to call home right now. I'm looking for work down here to get connected. I left Minnesota. I'm going to be back, but I don't want to use my kids as an excuse to not do what I want to do, or to not do what I need to do, to not be all of my best. And so there's a balance. So when you're going through a transition, have a goal, beyond the chapter you're in. What legacy do you want to leave? And keep in mind what you need to have in your A circle to help you do your best through all those transitions. Have a great day. See you on the next video. Remember to share, subscribe, comment. Please keep me in the loop to let me know how you're doing. Take care.